This is my 2004 Lamborghini Murcielago. I originally bought this car back in 2020 during my Savage Garage days. I was 21, Savage Garage had really begun to take off, life was really good. And then, after about a year, and dumping 70 grand into the car, instead of continuing to drive and enjoy the car like any normal person would, I sold it. Because by that time, I had convinced myself that I should buy an AVENTADOR. And that went reasonably. My Murcielago was the only car I ever regretted selling, and today, I'm in Jacksonville, Florida to see the car because I'm going to buy it back. With that, let's get into it. Oh my god, there it is. Now, let's quickly touch on how this came to be. This is Vinny. He's a local here in Jacksonville. And a little while back, he messaged me and said, "Hey, my uncle bought your car. You should come down here sometime to see it." Of course, I messaged him back and said, "Absolutely." And I asked Vinny if his uncle would be willing to sell it. Vinny said, "I talked to him, and he said he'd be open to talking to you about it." Come present day, we ended up at this Starbucks in Jacksonville that Vinny, his uncle, and a few of his friends meet up on the weekends for breakfast. And funny enough, if you Google this Starbucks, the first photo that shows up has Big Bird in it. How neat is that?
I haven't do any maintenance or anything.
You haven't done a single thing? No. Yeah, well don't worry, I did it all for you. I promise you, before you bought it, it had about 70 G's put into it.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
The car looked like it was in the exact same condition as it was when I sold it. And according to Vinny's uncle, he hadn't driven it too much either.
What did you leave it at? 34,000
I think it had just clicked over a little over 33. I think that's what it was.
Okay, so 34 now.
Yeah.
Okay, so it only made it 1,000 miles. But for Mercy's, that's a big deal.
I still regret, I was in Jacksonville when I saw it for sale at the dealer, you bought it.
Yeah.
And I still regret not going there and buying it myself. I was just mad at what the number was. It was like 140 or whatever it was.
Yeah, that would have been smart considering this is where the market is now.
No.
Eventually, Vinny's uncle gave me the keys of the car, said I could start it up, and if I wanted to, take it for a drive.
Oh shit. Oh my god. We should steal this thing. We should just drive away.
Drive away.
I brought the
I'll hop in the Explorer.
I haven't told him that. I brought the second key. We could just drive away with it. As soon as he's getting coffee or something like that.
I also noticed this when I got in the car.
Oh my gaffer's tape is still here.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Where?
Yeah, they did. Vinny tell you about why this piece of tape is here? So
No.
So this piece of tape, this is to hold the trim piece for the radio. This little shit would vibrate all over the place.
Oh.
So this piece of tape, is like 3 years old. That's awesome. It's still
It
there.
all there.
After a little bit longer, it was time to drive.
Now I can perfectly see the car, or see the rear engine bay when it overheats. It's gonna be great. I was about to say, I wonder how much gas is in it, but that doesn't matter because that gas gauge doesn't work.
Yeah, gotta go.
We're gonna drive this about,
Like a mile.
yeah, maybe a mile, because knowing my
You're
luck,
right.
that's when it'll break.
Red light too.
And before you ask, internet, yes, there is tape holding up the window. And that's because 1 week prior, in typical Mercy fashion, the window regulator failed.
Dude, it's good.
Why did I sell this car?
I don't know. Yeah, middle
Because now I gotta pay the dude double what I sold it for to get it back.
So what did you sell it for?
I've never said this online because I'm so embarrassed about it. With the way the market was at the time, and because I was trying to get rid of it fast, because I was trying to get into the AVENTADOR, I found the AVENTADOR I wanted, and nobody really wanted this car because it was like a, 10-owner Mercy. He still hasn't changed the brakes. The car
Be
needs
careful,
brakes.
be careful.
What do you need? What? What's wrong?
Honey.
Yeah, you could say it had a few air lights on the dash. But what did you sell it for, Jimbo?
But at the time, I sold the car because someone was willing to pay cash immediately before I sold it for.
But before we do that, a quick word from today's video sponsor, BetterHelp. Many of you guys know that back in 2022, I lost two very important people in my life, big figures. And describing what it felt like or what I went through throughout that year, it would require its own video. And it really wasn't until February of this year that I finally gave therapy a chance. And the cool thing here is I actually use BetterHelp to do it. In fact, I still use it weekly to this day. I've got one scheduled for this week actually coming up, but I still go to therapy once a week. And I gotta tell you, I feel very foolish for not using it sooner. I'd say it wasn't until about the 4th session, but all of a sudden I started having these just aha moments. And it was like, oh, wait a minute. So you're telling me that other people experience this and this is normal? It's helped me get my motivation back. It got me going back to the gym. It just feels like somebody took a giant weight off my shoulders. BetterHelp's mission is to make therapy more affordable and more accessible. Finding a therapist can be really difficult, especially when you're limited to the options in your area. BetterHelp is a platform that makes finding a therapist easier than ever because it's online, it's remote, and by filling out a few questions, BetterHelp can match you with a professional therapist in as little as a few days. It's easy to sign up and get matched with a therapist. And a great bit of peace of mind too. If the therapist you get matched with isn't right for you, you can easily switch to a new therapist with no additional cost, without stressing about your insurance or your network or anything like that. There's a link in my description below. Click that or just go to betterhelp.com/Jimbo. Clicking that link helps support this channel, but it also gets you 10% off your first month of using BetterHelp so you can connect with a therapist and see if it's right for you. So if you're going through a hard time or you just want to better yourself, BetterHelp is an amazing place to go. So check my link in the description down below, betterhelp.com/Jimbo. And with all of that, thank you BetterHelp for sponsoring the video, and let's get back to the Murcielago.
I sold the car because someone was willing to pay cash immediately before I sold it for oh my god, it feels so... I forgot how mechanical this car feels. Yeah. Oh my god, I missed this car, Mike! I It's so violent! Yeah, and it's like for no reason too.
He's good.
He instigated, okay?
Yeah, I know he did.
I haven't given the car full throttle. Alright, let me just roll it under this. Nothing else feels like this. Nothing.
No.
Is it far enough back?
Good.
It drives exactly the way I remember. It's fantastic. Thank you.
Okay.
Seriously, thank you. Wow.
Then Vinny's uncle and I talked a bit more. Unsurprisingly, he wasn't that interested in letting the car go, because currently he had a running and driving Mercy. However, I offered him a number that was way too good to say no to, and we ended up making a deal. Obviously, the actual paperwork and everything like that still had to get done, but Big Bird was officially coming home. And afterwards, we all ended up going on a drive. But that wasn't what happened. No. I think that's what I thought was going to happen, and that would have been a really nice story, but I didn't buy the car back. That Murcielago represented a lot for me. First-time career success, happiness, a false sense of it, but it felt real at the time. Headaches, a lot of them, none of which were cheap. A lot of good memories. Man, a lot of them. Everything was different back then. We all were. A lot of things I miss. But more than anything else, it represented a time gone by. That footage of me driving my Murcielago, that was filmed all the way back in February. And that was still when I thought I was going to continue doing Savage Garage. And with all the drama and the BS aside around that for a second, I can make a whole video just talking about that, but that's not really the point here. It was more so just the moment I drove the car. I mean, it was like a light bulb went off in my head. Not a good one, but I realized this wasn't right. And this wasn't the right path I was going down. This didn't make sense. And I mean, not just buying the car back, but just doing this whole Savage Garage thing again. Because the reality was, and I said this at this point now over a year ago, but that time is over. This wasn't what I wanted to do anymore. The people that made it fun and exciting for me, they were gone. And sadly, it took me about a year to finally realize and accept that. And, you know, the thing is with that car, when I look at it, when I drove it, when I was down there, immediately, I didn't think of a future with that car. I didn't think of a project with it. That wasn't anywhere in my brain. All I was thinking about was the memories that it held and what it reminded me of. But I know you're wondering, like, why did I do all that? Why did I make this whole video around this? There was a time that car, to me, meant happiness. You know, that was the thing. I have this thing and I'm happy. Or at least that's what I thought. I said earlier that, you know, it brought a sense of happiness, even though it was kind of a false one. And that couldn't have been more true with that car. Seeing the car again is what put it all in perspective. But I realized it was just a thing. It was just something that was part of the channel. And back in February, these were both things that I thought made me truly happy. That's what I was chasing. But the reality was, they were just things that kept me busy. And I know it's absurd to say that, oh, well, it's just a car, you know, money doesn't buy happiness. That's stupid cliche. No, to some degree it does. It absolutely does. But I gotta tell you, in 2021, I was doing very well. And the thing was, off of camera, I was absolutely miserable. You know, I wasn't happy at all. You know, I was constantly working and I felt like crap all the time. And anytime I, thought about it for anything more than about 5 minutes, I just drowned myself out with more work because it made money. And now, I mean, it's still it feels weird to say because it's such a strange feeling comparatively, but I'm happier than I've ever been. I spend more time with my family. I'm not stressed out all the time. I actually have some idea of where I want to go now. It's nice. The reason I wanted to share any of this with you was I just wanted to be another example of money, like buying a shiny toy thing and showing it off online. That does not equal happiness. It doesn't. And, it's important to have goals. Obviously, you want to work hard, make some money, and buy the things you want. But don't think that is the thing to happiness. Obviously, having had cars like this, it's much easier to say things like that. But really, I mean, the weird thing is you buy a car like that, or you get to a point where you can buy things like that. And, you get there and you have this sense of now what? All of a sudden, this hole opens up of like, oh, like, what? Do I feel fulfilled in any way, shape, or form in my life? And sometimes the answer is no. And the easiest thing to do is just keep working more because that drowns out any of that noise. It's like, well, if I'm miserable, I'll just make a whole bunch of money. That'll make up for it. It doesn't. And I mean, I think that's one of the reasons you hear about people who have a lot of money being miserable because, they don't feel fulfilled anywhere else. The other thing I forgot to say while filming was recognize when it's time to move on. I spent almost a year trying to keep some bit of my past alive, whether it was through my channel or not, because I thought that was the way forward and would make me happy, but it wasn't. So in conclusion, I know this is a little ridiculous, all this crap coming from me, but buy nice things, buy the things you want, but don't think they're gonna make you happy. So with all that, folks, thanks for watching. In all seriousness, check BetterHelp out if you wanna work on yourself or you're going through something difficult. It's important to take care of yourself. I'm not gonna turn this into a whole sponsor bit right now, but it really has helped me. Like, I'm still getting over how much better I feel now comparatively the way I used to, what I used to wake up thinking about, and just therapy's been great. It really has. And I still got a lot more work to do, but I'm in a much better place now. But yeah, thanks for watching. Take care. Have a great rest of your day.